Coming up on today's Wild West, we'll explore the western side of California. We'll saddle up in the eastern Sierra at historic Hunewill Guest Ranch.
There is no place that offers riding like this place.
We'll roll through the California gold country with the Days of 49 wagon train.
California has always been the trendsetter.
And we'll show you the artistic side of cowboy gear at the Riccati Saddle Company. A California edition of today's Wild West just ahead. The Wild West. It's still out there. We'll show you how to find it. This is today's Wild West. Galloping horseback on a warm summer day in the American West. Who hasn't watched a Western movie and dreamed of flying across a meadow on the back of a horse? Just outside Bridgeport, California, Hunewill Guest Ranch has been making horseback dreams come true for generations.
That was so fun. Oh my gosh. I've never done anything like that before.
It's like riding in a postcard, a rare place where you can take the brakes off a tuned-up quarter horse and run across a vast green meadow sprinkled with wildflowers beneath the snow-capped peaks of the Sierra Nevada, just northeast of Yosemite National Park.
The horses, the atmosphere, the people, all of it. It's just an entirely fantastic package.
You know, and there is no place that offers riding like this place. I mean, I've got a friend who's the head wrangler at a dude ranch up in Wyoming, and I've told him about the way we ride here, and he can't believe it. He said, how in the world do you get away with that? Well, it's just the way they do it.
It's all thanks to the California Gold Rush of 1849. Napoleon Bonaparte Hunewill came west from Maine and was one of the lucky few who actually did find gold. After sending for his bride Esther, the couple founded a 4,500-acre cattle ranch to provide beef to the nearby Wild West gold mining town of Bodie, California. When beef prices dropped to just 3 cents a pound during the Great Depression, Napoleon's grandson Stanley and his wife Lenore opened the ranch to guests in 1931. And today the Hunewill family continues to raise cattle and lead guests on long lopes across their amazing land.
They don't have to ride head to tail. They can just spread out across these meadows and lope, and it's a kind of an amazing place to ride. And you know, you add that with the fact that we're a working cattle ranch, and we really are the real deal. We're a working cattle ranch. We're family owned for over 155 years.
I am 6th generation.
6th. What's your name?
Rhiannon Hunewill.
Rhiannon Hunewill.
Yep, been here all my life.
I bet you had a happy childhood too, huh?
It was the best. Fishing in the meadows, going on rides, going up in the high country, it was the best.
Keep your hips and your shoulders square to where you're going.
Don't know how to ride? No worries. This is the place to learn, even if you're just 4 years old. You having fun?
She's never been on a horse besides being pulled around at a fair. And yesterday I raced behind her while she loped, and I trotted. And I was scared to death, but she was loving every second of it. Crazy.
You're gonna kick him like you mean it. Ride it like you stole it, all right?
We joined little Isla and her young pals for the Buckaroo ride. Thanks to the expert wranglers who run the Hunewill Kids program, brand new riders don't stay beginners for very long.
Okay, what you need to do, once you start loping, you start going like this once you start trotting. And Murphy doesn't like it, so you gotta try and hold your hand really still on his neck. Okay?
Let's lope now!
Oh. It's amazing how quick it happens. It does take a few tries for the kids to figure it out. But by the end of a 2-hour ride, these children are loping their horses and having a blast. It takes a special string of horses to be able to do that.
Our horses, by the time they become kids' horses, they're really used to our program. And they've been here for years and years and have shown themselves to be very trustworthy.
6th generation family member Leslie Hunewill helps lead the ranch horse and cattle breeding program.
So, of course, there's an inherent danger in riding a horse. but we really trust these horses enough to put small children on them and enough to say, you know, these horses have been in our program long enough. They know the drill. They know that after they get done loping with these little kids, they're going to get a nice brushing and some carrots, and then they get to go out to the pasture with their friends. So, of course, there's always a little bit of worry, but we do trust our kids' horses very much.
Hunewill Ranch keeps about 150 horses, many of them registered American quarter horses, raised and trained right on the ranch.
It's good for them to know that people are a good thing.
Every week, guests get the opportunity to meet that season's new colts, fun for the kids and grown-ups alike, and good for the horses.
The ones that we breed to raise, they have to be pretty exceptional mares for us to consider breeding them. So what they've shown us through us using them on the ranch as a working horse and also as a guest horse, if they can handle both aspects of that and handle different levels of people and still be the same horse and perform consistently, that's very important to us. So if they can show us that they do that over the years, then we will breed them.
They have to be good cow horses because this is a working cattle ranch, and guests get to help drive the cattle.
So we're all gonna ride this way and get around them.
We head out to get her done, and what a beautiful place to push cows.
All right, got it done.
There are opportunities to drive cattle several times during a summer week stay, plus a week-long cattle drive in the fall.
I love this country. It's part of me.
Ben and Ramiro ran cattle here for neighboring outfits for 30 years.
All these years later, you're leading rides here.
Yeah, that's what I do, yeah. And I love it.
Benny was our trail guide on the Buckeye Canyon ride. That trail at first took us through timber where Napoleon and his logging crews cut trees here in the 1800s.
The reason for those stumps being so tall is because it was two men with crosscut saws cutting them.
It's not long before we emerge from the woods into a beautiful mountain meadow. Later, the snow-capped Sierra frames the background. We're on the eastern slope of the mountains and at times can see the peaks of Yosemite.
Just about the time you're looking at the beauty of one type of terrain, it changes into something totally different. Pretty nice. One of my favorite rides out here.
It's like vacationing in a postcard. Look at that. Look at that view.
There is no riding like at Hunewill. Their horses are by far the best. The riding is spectacular. The operation is run so well. I love the fact that it's family-owned, generational. You know, what can you say? Between the horses, the riding, the people running it, it's been spectacular scenery. It's something near and dear to all of our families' lives.
Coming back?
I hope so. This is fantastic.
As wonderful as the riding, the horses, and the scenery is the salt of the earth Hunewill family.
Obviously the riding is phenomenal, second to none, but the family, the Hunewill family makes you feel like family, and it's just unusual to have that connection with the people that have ranched this and owned this for 5 generations.
Well, you know, it's like old home week every week when people come back. I love that about it. Someone said to me the other night, "You have a great business here." And I said, "Oh, it's a lot more than a business."
Jan Hunewill first came to the ranch as a guest in the 1950s, worked here while going to college, and soon fell in love with a 4th-generation Hunewill.
Stan and I, Lenore and Stanley's only son, we became an item right away, and that was that.
The couple had 3 children, Jeff, Megan, and Betsy, and the 5th generation all work at the ranch, as do many of their children. Providentially, perhaps, the Huneywills were able to expand their cattle operation to accommodate their growing family.
And we have these huge allotments out in Nevada, and the whole spring calvers go out there in the winter, and we can have more cattle than we ever had before.
Not everyone would want to work every day with their family, and the Huneywills have long held weekly meetings to make sure everyone's on the same page and iron out any problems.
We all work on this together, and we all share all of our talents, and And it's just, that's the only way to do it.
You know, it's a big privilege.
Family members are very aware of this precious treasure they share with each other and those who visit.
I have a lot of friends that they always tell me, you're so lucky to have grown up there, and I feel the same way. So it's a big job, but someone's got to do it, and I'm glad that somebody is myself, my brother, and my cousins.
I think we like what we do. We like each other. We like this place. So I think we all feel like it's a gift to work here and to make it viable for the next generation, to keep this place going. It's as a gift for our kids and as a gift for the people that come here.
It really is a magical place for families to have fun together and just be together. And ride those great horses, which for Dan Wilkins and his 13 family members was a brand new experience.
And I had some trepidation because none of us are experienced riders.
Yeah.
Most of them have never been on a horse at all.
So how'd it go?
Went great. I mean, you know, they all like loping. I've got 13 people, all of saying 5s.
Favorite part? Just watching my family have a good time. They're all having a great time.
Yeah.
The only downer is when it comes time to leave.
Oh, the rides have been great, meeting everybody. Start to feel like a family after a week, you know? Yeah, it's gonna be hard to leave, huh? Started packing the car last night, and it made me sad.
But you can always come back, like Lisa, who's been coming here with her family since she was 4 years old.
Well, what is it not to like? We're in the most beautiful country in the world. I get to spend time with 4 kids without having them look at cell phones and text all the time. My daughters are learning how to horseback ride like true cowgirls, and I feel like I have stepped back in time. The Hunewill Ranch never changes.
I think that guest ranches are a gift to people in this day and age, and that's what you hear week after week. People who just want to get out and be in the quiet, be with a horse, experience this kind of a life. So helps me get up in the morning to know that we're kind of making these special memories for people.
Like galloping on a fine horse, splashing through a mountain meadow at California's Hunewill Guest Ranch.
My favorite part is watching the kids learn for the very first time. Be scared at first, and by Friday they're loping machines. Cool to watch.
Up next, we cross the Sierra to the California Gold Country to ride with the Days of 49 wagon train. The wagon train. This romantic symbol of the Old West rolls again through the gold country of Amador County, California, about 50 miles east of Sacramento. The horse-drawn wagons rumbling through the historic towns of the Sierra Nevada foothills are the centerpiece of the annual Days of 49 celebration, recalling the California gold rush of 1849, when this area was swarming with prospectors looking to strike it rich.
Head 'em up!
It's part of our American heritage.
John Carollo is the leader of the Kit Carson Mountain Men, the group that organizes this historic caravan. The Mountain Men are dedicated to celebrating, preserving, and passing on our country's Western heritage.
Young people today have no idea what our forefathers went through. That's why we go to all the schools.
Awesome!
Awesome, huh? For 4 days in late April, kids and grown-ups get a first-hand look at this living history as the wagon train travels through several historic gold rush towns along Highway 49, towns that look much like they did back in the 1800s. Along the way, the wagons pass by remnants of the hard rock mining operations that pulled millions of dollars in gold from the earth, like the Kennedy mine outside Jackson.
These are the skips.
This is what California is. It was immigrants that came here from all over the world for the gold rush to start with. And then with hard rock mining, it became other immigrants that came and worked there. And now they live here in the community and all over.
Underground miners once worked here for $4 a day.
We have between 50 and 100 miles of tunnel underground,
which was good money at the time.
So this is Ingersoll Rand drill sharpener, and it was from the Argonaut mine. I don't think we appreciate all the work that came to make what we are today, what came before us and everything.
Imagine picking up your home right now and trying to fit what you needed inside that wagon to go cross country, and enough grain in there to have your horses so they could eat.
Whether you're a part of it or just watching, the wagon train is all about helping people connect with both history and horses.
Really cool.
Yeah.
That they're reenacting all of this.
Are you guys tired?
Buffalo Riccati.
Here, hold that a minute.
I love getting to let the public see the horses.
When she's not driving horses, Annette Nylander is a computer science professor at Sierra College.
Watching the kids' expressions when they get to come up and pat the horses. Watching the adults melt, because they're good for our souls.
I love horses.
The amazing thing about going on a wagon train is that I get to meet the most amazing people.
Denise Smart spent 6 months recreating her dress from the Old West era.
I don't know, there's something that just fascinates me about it.
Whatever that is, the men and women on the wagon train have loved horses, wagons, and the Old West as long as they can remember.
I've been a wagon train groupie since I was 10 years old.
Oh,
My parents
really?
moved to Placerville, and we just happened to be on Main Street one day when the Highway 50 wagon train came down. It's the most amazing thing I ever saw.
I think I was born too late. My grandfather used to plow his crops with horses, and I learned to do that then when I was a kid. I just love doing this. It's perfect.
Wagon training is not an inexpensive pastime. Richard Leedy spent $6,000 restoring his authentic freight wagon, not to mention the cost of the truck, trailer, horseshoes, and everything else it takes to do this. But to him, it's worth every penny.
The serenity of it, just being out in the open, and I love the sound of the clip-clop. I just took to it naturally.
It's fun. Do it whenever I can.
Dave Presler is one of the wagon train outriders, helping out Pam Andrews, who's driving the wagon behind him.
So what's your job as wrangling for her?
Oh, hold her horse, do whatever it takes, make sure there's no problems.
The friends, the camaraderie. Everybody's here, has a common interest, and we all love doing this. It's a lot of work, but well worth it.
You get a glimpse of just how much work it is when you watch the teams of horses get hooked up in the morning. You don't just turn the key and go.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was born in Dodge City, Kansas, and I traded my first horse for wages on a farm when I was about 12, and I've had horses ever since, and as soon as I got big enough to handle a wagon, I started playing with wagons.
And it's a lot of work to get all the permits and everything else it takes for the wagon train to go down the road.
And it's best if you start real early doing this. Every little town you go through, you need a special permit. Caltrans has their own permits. It gets pretty big. So you have a big task list and you just keep working through that task list.
It's going pretty good. People are very cooperative. They're actually enjoying the wagon train, even the cars that have been stopped in it.
Once the wagons are rolling, Wagon Master Dan Dietrich is the man in charge.
Number one is safety. Safety to get all of this through here in one piece without any wrecks. And number two is make sure we're kind of sort of on time, but that's what I have my assistant Sherry for.
I want you to keep an eye on the wagon in front of you, and when you feel comfortable, let her rip, okay?
Sherry Souza is second in command.
People have been doing it for hundreds of years, but it's a dying breed, and it's our goal to keep it alive.
Oh, this is my favorite event of the year.
Is it? Yes.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I love it. Oh, I just love the horses. And I think it's fun that it's a multi-day thing. I look forward to it every year.
Me too.
My girls love the horses.
One goal of the wagon train is to get the next generation passionate about horses and history, and young outrider Taylor Tollett is proof that's working.
That's all she wants to do is just ride her horse all day, every day. Yeah.
The wagon train also shines a spotlight on this beautiful part of the new American West. Amador County is wine country, home to vineyards, award-winning wineries, and wine tasting.
Delicious.
Very nice.
Who doesn't love a good white wine?
You can stay in beautifully restored historic hotels, like the Imperial Hotel in Amador City, which first opened back in 1879. A gourmet breakfast is included with your room, and the hotel offers fine dining in the evening, with locally grown items on the menu. Or stay at the historic National Hotel in nearby Jackson. John Wayne was once a regular visitor, and the suite where he slept is named in his honor. And this area is beautiful to visit all year round.
We were just going on and on about how beautiful. We didn't see anything as this pretty all the way across the United States. We were going on about that.
Amador County is the most beautiful county in the whole United States. I really believe it.
Ron and Marie Schofield drove a wagon from California to Valley Forge, Pennsylvania in the bicentennial wagon train of 1976.
After seeing everything at 3.5 miles an hour going across the United States, when we got back to Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, we said, you know what? Amador County was the best. And it is.
Yeah. Be hard to find anyone to argue with that, especially when the wagons roll again in the gold country during the days of '49. Still to come, the artistic side of cowboy gear, handmade at the Riccati Saddle Company. If you want to discover the authentic American West, step into an authentic Western store, like the Riccati Saddle Company in Clements, California, where Rick and Susan Riccati will indeed welcome you to come on in and take a look. And there's lots to look at.
People come in and you don't realize it because we look at it every day, but when they'll come in and they'll spend hours just looking.
The Northern California shop specializes in the kind of handmade leather goods and silverwork you just don't see very often. Work created by some of the best-known artisans in the Western world.
Doug Krause makes the Riccatis. Marty Elmore does some strap work for us. The silver on the spur straps, Rob Shazline made. It's like a heavy garment leather.
Riccati's creates their own Western jewels in the saddle shop attached to the retail store.
I actually did the silver and the leather myself on this. Custom briefcases.
There are photo notebooks filled with the one-of-a-kind leather goods that have been crafted in this store over the years.
This is a waste basket that we made. Denver Stock Show. We were their West Coast saddle maker. They commissioned, I think it was 4 saddle makers to make their 100th anniversary saddle. You can see this piece right here? That's the binding, and it's rawhide.
Rick's staff built this saddle and rebuilt all 14 saddles used by the mounted officers of the San Francisco Police Department.
They had a capital improvement project where over a period of time, we've replaced all of those saddles.
Just as fascinating as this shop and its merchandise is the story behind it. The movie posters on the wall provide a clue. They're all Westerns, films that Rick and Susan's kids and grandkids have worked in doing horseback riding stunts. Granddaughter Cassidy Heiss is a champion barrel racer whose Western film credits include Cowboys and Aliens and The Hateful Eight.
I have 4 kids that rodeoed, and when they were young, they ruined a lot of equipment, broke a lot of things. And that's how I started. I just started by fixing it, and I kind of got hooked on it, and so here I am.
Actually, he didn't like my repairs of horse blankets.
Well, that's how the very beginning, how it started.
And so he took that over, and then...
Repairing horse blankets?
Yes.
Our own.
Our own, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the way she pats it, and I'm thinking, geez, can't you do any better than this? And she said, well, go ahead, do it yourself. So that's the very beginning.
At that time, the family lived in fast-growing Hollister, California, where Rick worked for a civil engineering firm and Susan was in the insurance business. But Rick's hometown had grown way too big.
One day I went home and I said, you know, I think I'm going to quit my job. And I'm going to see if I can make saddles and see if we can get it to work. And she said, oh, okay. She said, maybe I'll quit mine too. She said, and why don't we sell our place and move someplace quiet?
They bought this century-old building in the late 1980s, and a saddle maker and silversmith friend offered to help them get started.
She said, well, why don't you come to my shop sometime and I, you know, I'll help you. And so that afternoon I went home, changed my clothes, got in my truck, went to his place, and I was waiting for him when he got there.
Business blossomed as Riccati's became known for its focus on quality gear with an artistic flair.
Of course, this is very opinionated on my part, but California has always been the leader, the trendsetter when it comes to tack, the artistic part of tack. Okay, a lot of silver before horse shows. They used a lot of silver in California. That was a plus for us, so we could do some kind of extravagant things. And so those extravagant things, I think, helped us. Because pretty tough to make a living making rough-out saddles. You know, it's not going to work.
And the quality of their work created some amazingly loyal and trusting customers.
We actually had some customers that sent us a check filled out with everything except the amount and say, you fill in the amount. And that has always meant a lot to Susan and I, because there's not too many people I'd send a check to and leave the amount blank.
Riccati's used to hit the road most every weekend to sell their wares at rodeos and horse shows, but they've dropped the road trips and scaled back a bit.
At one time in here, we had 6 guys and me. You know, we were sending quite a bit of stuff to Europe. Anyway, it just got kind of top heavy.
There's still lots of work and a waiting list of over a year for a new custom saddle. Rick designed the shop's clever double R logo that looks like the front of a saddle, and he still loves to create, but he's too busy dealing with customers and phone calls to do much of the work himself. But that's okay. After all, people are the best part of the business.
Well, I think it's their values. Pretty much anybody that likes dogs and horses are pretty likable people.
And you're always welcome to stop in just to take a look and get a sense of what the authentic American West is all about. That's it for now. We're back next time with more cool stuff from today's Wild West. I'm Mark Bedore. We'll see you down the trail. For more information on the people and places featured in today's Wild West, or to order show DVDs and books, visit todayswildwest.com. Funding for Today's Wild West provided by the Montana Film Commission, the Leggett Foundation, the Chuckwagon Trail Riders Foundation, the Dude Ranchers Association, and the Dude Ranch Foundation.